Imagine waking up every day with a clear mind, without being dominated by negative thoughts that steal your peace and energy. Now think of Marco Aurelio, one of the greatest philosophers in history, who ruled an empire while facing personal and external challenges. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not about external events. Realize that, and you will find the strength." This phrase summarizes the core of Stoicism, the ability to control our reactions, even when the world around us seems chaotic. In today's video, you will discover 10 Stoic techniques based on Marco Aurelio's teachings to destroy negative thoughts and build a stronger and more balanced mindset. These millennial practices are incredibly relevant today, especially in a world where anxiety, stress, and information overload are constant. If you have already felt stuck in a cycle of negative thoughts, this video is for you. Here you will not only find theory, but practical tools that can be applied in your daily life. From dealing with everyday frustrations to facing greater challenges, these techniques will help you gain control over your emotions and live more clearly and serenity. At the end of this video, you will have a powerful guide to transform your mindset and achieve the much-desired emotional freedom. So get ready to dive into Marco Aurelio's wisdom and find out how small changes in the way you think can lead to major transformations in the way you live. Shall we start? Before we delve into the techniques, it is important to understand who Marco Aurelio was and why his teachings remain relevant more than 2 millennia later. Marco Aurelio was not just a philosopher. He was a Roman emperor who ruled during one of the most turbulent periods in the history of the Roman Empire. While dealing with wars, epidemics, and political intrigue, he wrote Meditations, a personal diary that became one of the greatest legacies of Stoic philosophy. But what is Stoicism? In essence, Stoicism is a practical philosophy that teaches us to focus on what we can control and accept what is beyond our control. Stoics believed that true happiness comes from virtue, wisdom, and the ability to maintain serenity in the face of adversity. For them, negative emotions are the result of wrong judgments about the world, and the key to inner peace is to correct these judgments. Marco Aurelio, as a Stoic, practiced daily what he preached. He faced monumental challenges, from loss of children to battles against Germanic tribes, but always maintained a posture of balance and resilience. Their meditations were not written for the public. They were intimate reflections, almost like an emotional survival manual. And that is exactly what makes their teachings so powerful. They are real, practical, and tested on the battlefield of life. Today we live in a world that, although very different from the Roman Empire, is also full of uncertainties and pressures. Anxiety, stress, and the feeling of uncontrolled are common, but Marco Aurelio's wisdom shows us that we can face these challenges with the same clarity and serenity he has shown. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions, but about understanding and redirecting them in a healthy way. In this video, we will explore how you can apply these principles to your daily life. The techniques you will learn are modern adaptations of Marco Aurelio's teachings, designed to help you deal with negative thoughts, anxiety, and stress. In the end, you will not only have a deeper understanding of Stoicism, but also practical tools to transform your mindset. Now that you know the historical context and relevance of Stoicism, let's go straight to the techniques. The first of these is one of the most powerful, the Dichotomy of Control. Technique 1. The Dichotomy of Control. The first technique we will explore is the Dichotomy of Control, one of the pillars of Stoicism. Marco Aurelio taught that everything in life can be divided into 2 categories: what is under our control and what is not. The secret to inner peace is to focus our energy only on what we can control and accept what is beyond our reach. Let's go to a practical example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. Being annoyed or stressed will not make traffic walk faster. This is out of your control. However, you can control how it reacts to the situation. Instead of being overwhelmed by frustration, you can take a deep breath, listen to an interesting podcast, or even use this time to reflect on your day. Applying the dichotomy of control does not mean being passive or indifferent. On the contrary, it is about directing your energy where it can really make a difference. When you practice this technique, you realize that many of the things that bother you are actually outside your control, and by accepting it, you gain a sense of freedom and clarity. This technique is especially useful in stress or anxiety situations. Ask yourself, is this under my control? If the answer is no, take a deep breath and focus on what you can do. This simple change of perspective can transform your way of dealing with daily challenges. Technique 2. Negative visualization, premeditatio malorum. The second Stoic technique we will explore is the negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum. This practice involves imagining the worst possible scenarios to prepare emotionally and mentally to face them if they occur. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the impermanence of life and the possibility of unpleasant events, not to despair, but to strengthen himself. Imagine that you have an important presentation at work. Instead of just waiting that everything goes well, take a few minutes to view the worst scenario. You may forget about the content, or the audience does not react as expected. In doing so, you reduce the fear of the unknown and prepare to deal with possible setbacks. When the worst has been mentally faced, anything above that seems easier to manage. Negative visualization is not about being pessimistic, but about being prepared. It helps us develop resilience and understand that even in the worst scenarios, we still have control over our reactions and attitudes. This technique also reminds us of valuing what we have, because by imagining the loss, we come to appreciate the present more. Practicing negative visualization can reduce anxiety and increase your confidence to face challenges. After all, as Marcus Aurelius said, what is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. Technique 3. The art of acceptance. The third Stoic technique is the art of acceptance, which teaches us how to embrace what we cannot change. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the importance of accepting reality as it is rather than fighting the inevitable. He wrote, "Accept what is beyond your control and direct your energy to what you can change. Imagine you planned an outdoor day, but suddenly it starts to rain. Being annoyed or frustrated will not change the time. Instead, accept the situation and adapt. Maybe you can enjoy the day to read a book, watch a movie, or do something productive at home. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means choosing not to waste energy with what is outside your control. This technique is especially useful in situations such as losses, unexpected changes, or failures. By accepting what cannot be changed, you free mental space to focus on solutions and opportunities. The art of acceptance helps us cultivate a more flexible and resilient mentality, preparing us to deal with the uncertainties of life. As Marcus Aurelius said, everything that happens, happens as it should. Accepting this is the first step in finding inner peace, even in the midst of chaos. Technique 4. Questioning of limiting beliefs. The fourth Stoic technique is the questioning of limiting beliefs, a powerful tool for deconstructing negative thoughts that paralyze us. Marcus Aurelius believed that many of our anxieties are created by our own interpretations, not by the facts themselves. He wrote, "Our afflictions arise from our judgments about things, not from things themselves." Imagine you're about to start a new project, but you think, "I'm not good enough for that." Instead of accepting this belief as truth, question it. Is this really true? What can I do to improve? By challenging these thoughts, you realize that they are often exaggerated or unfounded. This technique helps us replace limiting beliefs with more realistic and empowering thoughts. For example, instead of thinking, "I always fail," you may reflect, "I made mistakes in the past, but I can learn from them and improve." This change of mindset opens doors to self-confidence and personal growth. Practicing limiting beliefs regularly makes us more aware of our thinking patterns and helps us build a more positive and proactive mindset. As Marco Aurelio taught, the soul is tinged by the color of his thoughts. Choose thoughts that elevate your soul. Technique 5. Focus on the present. Carpe diem. The fifth Stoic technique is the focus on the present, also known as carpe diem, enjoy the day. Marco Aurelio often reflected on the importance of living the present moment, because the past is gone and the future is uncertain. He wrote, "Focus on what is before you, in here and now." Imagine that you are in an important meeting, but your mind is concerned about a discussion you had the day before or a task you need to do later. By bringing your attention back to the present, you realize that you are missing the opportunity to contribute significantly at the meeting. Practicing the focus on the present means being fully engaged in what you are doing, whether it's a conversation, a meal, or a simple task. This technique is especially useful for reducing anxiety, which often comes when we are overwhelming about the future or relived the past. By living the present moment, you experience a sense of peace and clarity and better enjoy the little joys of life. As Marco Aurelio taught, life is what happens while you are busy doing other plans. Enjoy every moment as it is unique and unrepeatable. Technique 6. Results detachment. Sixth, Stoic technique is the detachment of results, which teaches us to focus on what is under our control, wise actions and efforts, and set aside the obsession with results, which are often beyond our reach. Marco Aurelio reflected on this by saying, "Do what should be done, but do not cling to the result." Imagine that you are preparing for a job interview. Instead of being anxious thinking whether you will get the vacancy or not, focus on preparing yourself as best you can. Research the company, practice your answers and organize your thoughts. When you are dedicated to the process, the result becomes a natural consequence, not a source of stress. This technique is especially useful in situations where the end result depends on external factors, such as a promotion at work or the reaction of others. By letting out the result, you reduce anxiety and increase your ability to act clearly and confidence. Detachment of results does not mean lack of ambition, but a change of focus. Instead of worrying about what is out of your control, you focus on what you can do now. As Marco Aurelio taught, act with integrity, and the rest will come by itself. Technique 7. Stoic gratitude. The seventh Stoic technique is Stoic gratitude, a practice that helps us find value and meaning even in the most challenging situations. Marco Aurelio often reflected on the importance of being grateful for what we have, because gratitude connects us with what is essential and leaves us from constant dissatisfaction. He wrote, "When you get up in the morning, think about how precious is the privilege of living, breathing, and being able to act. Imagine that you are going through a difficult day at work. Instead of just focusing on problems, set aside a few minutes to list 3 things you are grateful for. It can be simple, like a hot coffee in the morning, the support of a colleague, or the opportunity to learn something new. This practice does not deny difficulties, but it helps us maintain a balanced perspective. Stoic gratitude reminds us of valuing what we have, even when things do not go as planned. She teaches us to find beauty and meaning in little things, strengthening our emotional resilience. As Marco Aurelio said, all that happens is or enduring or not. If it's enduring, then take it. If it's not, no problem either. It will be over. Technique 8. Daily reflection. Consciousness exam. The 8th Stoic technique is daily reflection, also known as an examination of consciousness. Marco Aurelio practiced this technique regularly, devoting time at the end of each day to reflect on his actions, thoughts, and emotions. He wrote, "Examine yourself every night. What did I go wrong? What did I do? What did I stop doing?" Imagine that before bed you reserve 10 minutes to review your day. Ask yourself, What did I do well today? What could have done better? How can I improve tomorrow? This practice is not about blaming yourself, but about learning from your experiences and preparing for the future. Daily reflection helps us develop self-knowledge and identify behavioral patterns that may be preventing us from growing. It also allows us to celebrate our achievements, however small, and recognize areas where we can improve. This technique is a powerful way to close the day with clarity and purpose, preparing for the next day with a more conscious and balanced mindset. As Marcus Aurelius taught, always act as if it were being observed. Live according to its principles. Technical 9, Impressions Control. Prososhe. The 9th Stoic technical is the control of impressions, or prososhe, which teaches us how to question the interpretations we make of situations before reacting. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on how our initial impressions can lead us to hasty judgments and unnecessary emotions. He wrote, "Things do not affect us, but the opinions we have about them." Imagine that someone makes a critical comment about their work. Your first impression can be of anger or frustration. However, when applying impressions control, you wonder, is this criticism useful? Does it reflect the truth or just an opinion? This reflective pause allows you to respond more thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. This technique helps us develop emotional clarity and prevent our reactions from being guided by misinterpretations. It teaches us to separate the facts from our opinions, allowing us to deal with situations in a more balanced and effective way. As Marcus Aurelius taught, always act conscientious and question your impressions. True freedom is not to be a slave to your own reactions. Technical 10, Memento Mori. Remember mortality. The 10th and last Stoic technique is Memento Mori, which means remember that you will die. Although it may seem dark, this practice is deeply liberating. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on mortality as a way of staying focused on what really matters. He wrote, "You could go from life right now. Let it determine what you do, say, and think." Imagine that you are wasting time on a trivial task or postponing an important dream. By practicing Memento Mori, you wonder, if I knew my time is limited, how would I choose to live this moment? This reflection helps us prioritize what really matters, how to spend time with loved ones, pursue our goals, or simply appreciate the beauty of life. This technique is not about living in fear of death, but about using the conscience of finitude as a motivator to live with purpose and integrity. She reminds us that every moment is precious and that we should make the most of it. As Marcus Aurelius taught, don't act as if you were 1,000 years to live. Death hangs over you. While you live, while you can, be good. We have reached the end of this video, but this is just the beginning of your journey towards a stronger, balanced, and free mindset of negative thoughts. We have gathered here 10 Stoic techniques based on Marcus Aurelius' teachings, which can transform the way you deal with challenging adversities and emotions. Let's recap quickly. 1. The control dichotomy. Focus on what you can control and accept what you can't. 2. Negative visualization. Mentally prepare for the worst scenarios. 3. The art of acceptance. Embrace what cannot be changed. 4. Questioning of limiting beliefs. Challenge negative thoughts and self-saboteurs. 5. Focus on the present. Long live here and now. 6. Results detachment. Focus on the process, not the result. 7. Stoic gratitude. Cultivate gratitude, even in difficult times. 8. Daily reflection. Reflect on your actions and emotions at the end of the day. 9. Impressions. Control. Asks your interpretations before reacting. 10. Memento Mori. Remember the finitude of life to live with purpose. These techniques are not just philosophical concepts. These are practical tools that you can start applying today. Choose one or two that resonate with you and try to incorporate them into your routine. Remember, the change begins with small steps. Now, I want to know about you. Which technique caught your attention? Leave in the comments how you intend to put it into practice. If this video was useful for you, subscribe to the channel to receive more content like this, and don't forget to share with someone who can also benefit from these teachings. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." May you use these techniques to cultivate more positive, resilient, and free thoughts. Until the next video.